Hello again. Well, everything everybody does is doomed to some failures, and I wanted to show you mine. What we have here is that I wanted to do the dimension statements and the equates, and I'd already showed you previously what happens. So let's go back to the program here. Let me show you what it's doing here. What it's basically doing is it is taking this statement here and adding in the dimensions. As you can see, it's adding the dimension statements, and it's putting them in the lower AK. So it doesn't matter what kind of dimension statement it is, it's taking the dimension statements of like X right here, this one. And it takes the next one, and it even uses, get this, here we go, 7-dimensional arrays. So I've got this portion where it actually does 7-dimensional arrays. I was so tickled pink with myself over this. So let's speed it up a little bit here. And it goes from page to page to page. Now, I'm using the AMS card, so basically there's really not a limit to how far this would go. It'll just keep cranking out 7-dimensional arrays until it runs out of memory. It doesn't matter anyway, because you can only use 24K of the upper 24K of the AMS, I mean the upper 24K of the TI, so I hadn't planned on using all the variable space inside the AMS, so it doesn't really matter what I worked out here. It's not going to work in the long run. The problem I've run into is for floating point numbers. I originally wanted to use numbers that were like decimal. That way, not decimal, but integer. That way I wouldn't have a problem with some stuff. And what I ran into was that a lot of programs use floating point. I mean, some of them just won't operate without it at all. And the only way to do it is rewrite the program. Well, the whole idea was not to rewrite the programs. So I had to go back to square one on what I was going to do here with this compiler. And I think what I've done is I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to have to just give up on this extended basic version and go back to what I started with, which was basically this. The RXB source code. So what I've done is I've gone back into the RXB source code, and I'm going to the source code itself, and I'm removing the editor. The idea is that I guess what I'm going to have to do, and this is going to be a long drawn out project to say the least, is RXB is going to do the same thing as extended basic or TI basic, and it's going to take the program you load and it's going to turn it into a GPL DV80 file, and then you can compile the DV80 file. So what I'll do is I'll remove the editor and those portions of it, and it'll convert the sections that it finds by reading the program like it normally does from extended basic, and instead of executing, it'll create a GPL program. This way I can use the floating point, and you get a 100% compatible extended basic program in GPL without the interpreter, which slows down extended basic because it's not being interpreted per line, it's compiled. Also, you get your floating point speed and problems at the same time, but it can be optimized more in a compiler than it can be with an interpreter. There's no real way to optimize an interpreter. So I'll just go with the compiler. Just what it'll do is it'll just go through and use the code according to what I can cut it down to. So sections like the editor will be removed because there's no real need for it because it just takes up a lot of space. Sections that have like example like errors will be removed too because there's no need for them. Now the compiler can throw errors out, and it will generate the errors so that they'll be listed when they pop up. Like if you have an on error, I'll include that. So this is going to be a long drawn-out project. Needless to say, the compiler is going to have the XB ROMs in it, which means it will have the extended basic assembly language routines included. So you'll be able to use call link and call load and all the others that you normally use from the GPL compiled program. I really don't have any other choice in doing this. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on what I'm doing and the problem I ran into. So I'm going to have to give up on the GPL extended basic version, and I'm going to go with just nothing more than RXB recompiling into a GPL program. And then from there, you guys could actually recompile that by taking the GPL code and turning it into assembly. We'll talk to you later.